I found this object in an old home in Cape Cod, Massachusetts that was filled with antique sailing trinkets and old farm equipment. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is an antique hand-crank grape crusher, a traditional tool once used in winemaking. Made of wood and iron, it was designed to crush freshly harvested grapes so the juice could be released for fermentation. By turning the crank, the rollers inside would split the skins and pulp the fruit, creating what winemakers call must, the mix of juice, skins, and seeds that begins the winemaking process. These crushers became common in the 19th century as winemakers sought faster, more consistent methods than the old practice of stomping grapes by foot. I saw this strange setup in the backyard of an elderly woman's house while doing some work there about 10 years ago. I still have no idea what it is or what she might have built it for. Does anyone know what it is? This device is a homemade wood steamer, also known as a steam box for bending wood. The PVC tube serves as the chamber where pieces of wood are placed, and the metal can below generate steam that is piped into the box. The hot steam softens the fibers of the wood, making it flexible enough to bend into curved shapes without cracking. Once the wood cools and dries in its new position, it will hold that curve permanently. This traditional technique, called steam bending, has been used for centuries in boat building, barrel making, and furniture. I saw this large floating structure at the port in Kirkwall, Scotland. It has no windows, but there's a metal door at the back of the upper dome. It looks quite big and seems to float on its own. Does anyone know what this is? This is a unique project called the Penguin Wave Energy Converter, often referred to simply as the Penguin. It was developed by the Finnish company Wello Oy to generate clean electricity from ocean waves. The device is anchored in place and converts the rocking motion of waves into energy through an internal flywheel, which drives a generator. The electricity is then transmitted to shore through undersea cables. The Penguin was tested at the European Marine Energy Centre in Orkney, Scotland, where it successfully supplied electricity to the grid and endured storms with waves reaching 60 feet. Although Wello Oy filed for bankruptcy in 2023, the Penguin remains one of the most distinctive attempts to harness the motion of the sea. I found these wooden objects in my late father's garage. Each piece has a series of parallel grooves along its length. Does anyone know what these are? What you found is an antique wooden cigar mold, a tool once used in traditional cigar making. It consists of two boards with semi-cylindrical grooves that clamp together to shape freshly rolled cigar bunches into a consistent size and form. After the filler tobacco was wrapped in a binder leaf, these moist bunches were placed into the mold, pressed and rotated until they held a uniform cylindrical shape. Cigar molds first appeared in the mid-19th century, around the 1850s, and quickly revolutionized the industry. Before molds, rollers needed years of training to achieve perfect results by hand. With molds, even less experienced workers could produce straight, evenly sized cigars, and factories were able to double their output. I was given this unusual sword by a friend. It's about 3 to 4 feet long, comes with a leather scabbard, and I was told it's pretty old and was damaged in a flood. Does anyone know what this is? This item is a salampasu sword from Central Africa, known locally as the empuku. It's a one-handed short sword with a straight, double-edged iron blade, often featuring triangular ridges along the sides that give it a distinctive, intimidating profile. The blade tapers to a sharp point, while its weight and broad shape make it especially effective for chopping and slashing. The Salampasu people of the Democratic Republic of Congo were forging and carrying these swords by the mid-19th century. They were used in close combat during intertribal warfare and also held deep cultural meaning. Warriors wore them during initiation ceremonies, dances, and rituals of the Mungongo society, where the sword symbolized courage, adulthood, and social rank. I found this long flute-like object in my grandmother's apartment, which is filled with many artifacts. She enjoys collecting African tools and items, but I have no idea what this one is. What you found is an antique Yoruba ceremonial smoking pipe from Nigeria. It's a long-stemmed pipe, often wrapped in snakeskin with a metal bowl or mouthpiece, and was used for smoking tobacco or similar herbs. Pipes like this carried social and ritual meaning in Yoruba culture, often used by elders, chiefs, or religious figures, as symbols of wisdom, status, and tradition. Tobacco reached West Africa in the 17th century through European traders, and the Yoruba quickly adopted it into daily life and ceremonies. Over time, artisans crafted pipes that were not only practical, but also works of art, decorated with brass, beads, or animal materials. I found that this flimsy metal object with a ring on it. It's made of very lightweight metal, hollow, and folds up small, held together in the middle by a bungee cord like tent poles. There are no maker's marks anywhere on it. Does anyone know what this is? What you found is a continuous positive airway pressure tube holder, also called a hose lift. It's a bedside accessory designed to support and suspend the air hose of a CPAP machine, which is used to treat sleep apnea. By holding the hose above the bed, it prevents tangles and keeps the hose from tugging on the mask during sleep. I found this unusual object in my attic, and I'm pretty sure it's from my dad's time in Bosnia, clearing landmines. It looks like a wooden stake with a heavy, ridged metal piece attached, and on the top, there's a small black cap with a hole in it. Does anyone know what this is? What you found is a Yugoslav PMR-2A stake mine, an anti-personnel fragmentation mine widely used during the Balkan Wars of the 1990s. The metal body is cast iron, scored with grooves, so that when it detonates, it breaks into fragments that scatter in all directions. Inside was roughly 100 grams of TNT. Mounted above ground on a stake and triggered by a nearly invisible tripwire, the mine was intended to spray shrapnel at about waist height. The design traces back to German stick mines of World War II. After the war, Yugoslavia copied and adapted the concept, producing the PMR series in the 1950s to 60s. The PMR-2A is the improved variant, and by the time of the Bosnian War, it had become one of the most common tripwire mines in the region. In Croatia, the mine earned the nickname corn or maize because of its ribbed, cob-like appearance. I've seen this chain by nearly every corner of the house. It's attached to the gutter and runs down to the ground, where it ends at spots with bricks or stone tiles. Does anyone know what it's for? What you found is a rain chain, a decorative alternative to a standard downspout. Instead of enclosing the water in a pipe, it guides rain from the gutter down to the ground along its links. Rain chains originated in Japan, where they've been used for centuries on temples, shrines, and tea houses to channel water into stone basins or gardens. Beyond their practical function, they were valued for the calming sound of falling water and their integration into the spiritual atmosphere of Buddhist and Shinto architecture. I found this small metal object while walking on a gravel path. It's a cylindrical container a few inches tall, with what looks like a screw top and a small loop on the side. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is an SRCM Mod 35 hand grenade, often nicknamed the Red Devil. This was an Italian impact-detonated grenade first introduced in 1935 and widely used during the Second World War. Unlike timed grenades, it was designed to explode the instant it struck a surface after being thrown. British troops in North Africa gave it the name Red Devil because early models were painted bright red and had a reputation for being unpredictable, sometimes exploding if handled after a misfire. What is this black spherical object? It seems to be made of hard plastic, but it's surprisingly heavy. A friend thought it might be a dog toy, but to me it looks more like some kind of sculpture. This object is a limited edition sculptural art piece called Mars Molecule, created by American artist Mario Martinez, also known as Mars 1. It was first presented in 2015 at Burning Man, and later exhibited at Heron Arts Gallery in San Francisco. The piece was cast in bronze using the lost wax method after being modeled digitally and prototyped with 3D printing. I came across a site in Kansas with about 50 tall poles, each over 100 feet high, connected by interlocking horizontal wires. Every other section has 2 wires that look like cross members for support. There's also a building in the middle of the site, and I noticed cameras watching the surrounding roads. Does anyone know what this is? What you've found is a Super Darn radar installation, part of the Super Dual Auroral Radar Network used for ionospheric and space weather research. Built near Fort Hays State University in Kansas around 2009, this field of tall poles and wires is actually a high-frequency radar array that scans the upper atmosphere. By transmitting radio pulses and measuring their echoes, the radar maps the flow of charged particles in the ionosphere, helping scientists study auroras, solar storms, and other space weather events that can affect communications and power systems on Earth. I found this odd orange part in a box of assorted items I bought. It's heavy, has no markings, and has threaded holes on each side, 2 on the longer sides and 1 on each of the shorter sides. It measures about 6 to 8 inches long. Does anyone know what this is? What you found is a concealed shower mixing valve with an integrated diverter. The orange plastic casing is a protective installation box that keeps the valve properly positioned inside the wall, while the brass components on top contain the mixing cartridge and diverter mechanism. This type of valve became common in the mid-20th century as bathrooms moved away from exposed pipes toward cleaner designs. Early versions of mixing valves were invented in the 1930s and 40s to improve comfort and prevent scalding. I found this strange jelly-like cluster while beachcombing on the Olympic Peninsula. It looks almost like a mop head made out of jellyfish. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a squid egg mass, sometimes called an egg mop. Each of those finger-like tubes is a gelatinous capsule, and inside every capsule are dozens or even hundreds of developing squid embryos. Female squid lay these capsules on the sea floor, attaching them to sand, rocks, or shells. The jelly that surrounds the eggs plays a vital role. It anchors the mass in place, protects the embryos from bacteria and fungus, and allows seawater to circulate so the eggs can receive oxygen. In the last video, I asked you to guess what this strange kitchen tool might be used for. Everyone had great guesses, and many of you got it right. This item is a rice mold, traditionally used to shape rice into neat, compact portions before serving. Thank you to everyone who participated and shared your guesses. A special shout out to engineer in Hickory Stripe Hat for being the first to correctly identify it. That's the second time he's been the first to get it right. All right, it's time for another mystery item. Take a look at this strange glass object. What do you think it is? Leave your guesses in the comments and I'll reveal the answer in the next video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Your support motivates me to create more videos. See you next time.